Live from the Tom O'Neill broadcast studio on the fourth floor of the Park Forest apartment complex somewhere in the city of Jackson, Michigan. The L2C Media Network and Mystifying Creativity Productions present Steve Sporty Balls. And here he is, your host. By the way, I am Harry Von Stuttgart, back after a 24-hour layover in Italy to help out the Monsignor get ready for a new football season. Here he is, the other Monsignor of laughs, comedy, and whatever else he does for these many moments. Here's our man, Steve the Bexman Bexley. Hey, hey, I'll lower this down here, please. Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. I forgot to do one little stinkering thing. I forgot to promote this on X. So, forgiveness, please. I have done reputable stupidness. But then again, the show is comedy after all. So, give me a second. I'll do a little verbal. Just to let you know, Steve Sporty Balls is on the air right now on youtube.com/Lugnut6. Our chat room is open and our look is new. So we are a work in progress. We haven't even gotten it open yet. So come on, join us. Now to post up on Facebook, the same deal, the same spiel. Here we go. Hey folks, if you're looking for Steve Sporty Balls, we're on the air right now, same place, and we want you to join us, youtube.com/Lugnuts6. Okay, so we have posted. Yes, we have posted. Egods, we're on the air now. Ain't that something? Okay, welcome everybody to the show of shows, the show of ones, twos, threes, and, well, 3.5 intervals. So, what do we do now? We do sports. Sports. And that's right, we do sports. We do chicken right. And the moment I say that, things go wrong. No, I don't want MM2 values. I want... Okay, let's get our little buddy up here, and boom. Okay, we got a lot in sports to cover, and let's get to the top story, which just happens to be, well, you could consider it a flop story. But the Vikings have just had their first Viking funeral. That's right. The clock has just struck midnight for former Michigan Wolverine quarterback and Minnesota Viking quarterback J.J. McCarthy. No, it's not merely in regard to his failed attempt to fend off Kyler Murray for the starting job. In a broader sense, the best path forward for both parties in the wake of not naming him the starter appears to be going their separate ways before the 2026 regular season campaign begins. And Minnesota may already be laying the groundwork to walk down that road with their 2024 first round pick. Head coach Kevin O'Connell named Murray the team's starter on August 11th. Since then, McCarthy's stock has only continued to sink. Now a player who entered camp duking it out for the top job saw himself splitting second-team reps with veteran Carson Wentz just 2 weeks removed from the Murray announcement. Now, while it is somewhat jarring to see such a fall from grace, it's not surprising if you've been paying attention to Minnesota, more specifically McCarthy this summer. There doesn't appear to be a lot of improvement in his game, which continues to run hot and cold. Week 2 of the preseason exemplified that to a huge TKO. In one moment, he's evading pressure and completing a 50-yard pass to Ty Felton down the right sideline. And 4 plays later, he overthrew Miles Price for what would have been a wide-open touchdown on a 4th and goal attempt. Now, it's those continued misses on what should be layup throws that are opening the door for Wentz to potentially leapfrog him on the quarterback depth chart as the primary backup to Murray. In the brief window that we've seen both quarterbacks, Wentz has proven to be the better option. Now, how did both quarterbacks stack up through 2 weeks of the preseason with one more to go? Well, for Carson Wentz, he completed 18 of 25 attempts. Meanwhile, J.J. McCarthy completed only 9 of 17. Touchdown interception ratio, well, for Carson Wentz, he had 1 touchdown and no interceptions. For J.J. McCarthy, goose eggs. Now, as for passing yards, Carson Wentz, 173, J.J. McCarthy, 115. Not exactly something to be happy about, don't you think? Now, while that's just a snapshot of this summer, Wentz was also the better quarterback on Minnesota's roster last year. In all, he started 5 games for the Vikings while McCarthy was sidelined with a high ankle sprain. Over his first 3 starts, he completed 69% of his throws while averaging 253 passing yards per game. And, let's see, where are we here? Yes. And totaled 5 passing touchdowns with just 2 interceptions. Now, Wentz suffered a shoulder injury in a Week 5 matchup against Cleveland Browns, but gutted it out to start 2 more games before landing on injured reserve. Naturally, those numbers dipped in those remaining 2 games, but Wentz did give the Vikings passing offense a jolt when he was healthy last year, something that doesn't ring true when McCarthy has been under center. Of course, given the fact that McCarthy was the 10th overall pick in the 24 NFL draft and Wentz is entering his age 33 season, Minnesota would want to give the younger player every opportunity to take the lion's share of reps. However, McCarthy's leash is getting shorter by the day. It's already run out his chances to be quarterback 1, and that soon may also be the case for QB2 duties. Now, while Murray's talent gives the Vikings the highest ceiling in Minnesota's quarterback room for 2026, his rival raises an elephant in the room: durability. Murray is far from an Iron Man, and it goes beyond him missing 5 games last season due to a foot injury. Now, over the last 5 seasons, Murray has missed 30 of a possible 68 games, which is 44%. While the Vikings hope that Murray will be able to suit up for a full 17-game regular season, soon to be 18 games, History suggests they'll be relying on their quarterback depth at some point. If and when they have to do that, it's hard not to have more faith in Wentz over McCarthy at this juncture. As we examine who should be the primary backup, that belief really says it all. Now, this is where the possibility of a divorce between McCarthy and the Vikings really starts to crystallize. If Wentz does leap over McCarthy on the depth chart in this next preseason game, and the former first rounder is regulated to third string, how does he handle that? Does he have a negative impact on the quarterback room and locker room as a whole? Well, when we saw a clip of both Murray and McCarthy went viral this summer when the two were asked about one another as they began their battle for the starting job, Murray was pretty diplomatic in his answers regarding the situation, while McCarthy had the following, quote, "It's just like two guys in a classroom. You know, he sits on one side, I sit on the other, and it's the coach's responsibility to teach us and coach us." Now, does that fester? Does that little bundle of anger or jealousy fester as McCarthy falls further into the shadows? There is a chance this could become an unattainable situation. If that possibility looms, it may behoove Minnesota to move on from McCarthy, even if it means eating some of his massive salary. Now, if the Vikings did decide to move McCarthy, these could be some interesting landing spots for the 23-year-old, whether that be via trade or signing as a free agent if waived, which could be a possibility. Now, Miami Dolphins, they paid Malik Willis to be its starter for 26, and if that fails, the Dolphins will be selecting their starter for 2027 in what is described as a loaded draft class next spring. That said, it doesn't hurt to take a flyer on signal callers like McCarthy. While he has not looked like a franchise centerpiece whatsoever in Minnesota, we have seen reclamation projects all over the league. Maybe a change of scenery is what McCarthy needs, and he could be the latest version to resurrect his career in a new city. You can't discount the Stephen Ross element as well, as the Dolphins owner is a major donor to McCarthy's alma mater, Michigan. And if we're making Michigan connections, we can't talk too long without mentioning the Chargers. Jim Harbaugh coached McCarthy at Michigan, and the two won a national championship together in 23 when McCarthy was coming out of college. Harbaugh said, quote, "He's the best quarterback in this draft," end quote. As a reminder, this was a draft that included Caleb Williams, Jalen Daniels, and Drake May at the top. So it was lofty praise from Harbaugh. Lofty praise from Harbaugh, even at the moment. If Harbaugh still believes that an elite version of McCarthy is there, this would be the most ideal landing spot for the young quarterback. Sure, he'd be a backup to Justin Herbert, but he developed under a coach who believes in him and is an offense orchestrated by Mike McDaniel after some seasoning in LA. Maybe McCarthy's stock improves across the league. Or how about the Indianapolis Colts? The Colts signed David Jones to an extension this offseason, making him their starter for the foreseeable future. Behind him, however, leaves little to be desired. Backups Riley Leonard and Anthony Richardson Sr. have not impressed this preseason, so Indy could stand to add another quarterback to this mix. Richardson has been seeking a trade out of Indianapolis for a while, so maybe we could see a rare QB for QB swap. O'Connell has praised Richardson in the past, so he can assume McCarthy's role as a developmental quarterback on the depth chart, while McCarthy gets a fresh start at the top as the top backup to Jones. So we'll just have to wait and see on that. It is 9 minutes past 10 o'clock Eastern Time. Glad you could be with us wherever you go. Let's go now to some NFL reports, some NFL news. And the biggest news is that after 75 years of senility, the National Football League has said adieu to the Pro Bowl. It is the end of the era. The NFL played its all-star game in the form of the Pro Bowl from 51-22 before introducing the alternative Pro Bowl games, which include a flag football contest. Now the NFL is getting rid of the Pro Bowl activities altogether. The NFL announced today that it will eliminate the Pro Bowl. Pro Bowl honors will still go to the players, but there will be no more alternates who in the past replaced players who were either injured or placing in that year's Super Bowl. Some notable replacements this year included Cleveland Brown rookie quarterback Shedeur Sanders, Jacksonville Jaguars linebacker Devin Lloyd, and Dallas Cowboy tight end Jake Ferguson. The process of selecting Pro Bowlers will remain the same, with fans, players, and coaches casting ballots for their favorite stars. Now in place of the Pro Bowl or Pro Bowl games, players selected to the Pro Bowl will be invited to Los Angeles for a celebration in February. NFL Executive Vice President of Football Operations Troy Vincent Sr. held a call with more than a dozen star players this summer to discuss the state of the Pro Bowl per The Athletic. His takeaway was that the players wanted a proper celebration of the league's all-stars. The tackle football game itself turned into a track meet featuring uninterested defenses, leading the league to experiment with other options. The fantasy draft, held by team captains who were NFL legends, didn't fix it. Introducing mini games like dodgeball and tug of war didn't fix it, and flag football definitely didn't fix it. While there will be no longer an all-star game for NFL fans to watch, the change aims to restore honor to the term Pro Bowler. And there you go. So that is it for the Pro Bowl. May the memories continue for a long, long time. And I'm going to take a bit of a break. We're going to hit some broadcast approved, non-commercial music. Then we'll be back here. The rest of the broadcast will be commercial free. So, well, if you want to figure out, I just have to spend a penny, as it were. So we're going to give you some music. We'll be back in just a few moments with more of this piece of insanity we like to call Steve Sporty Balls. We just got to hit the...
Are you ready to create a song?
Watushi here. So we'll be back. I just got to hit to the you-know-where. We'll be back. right. Thank you for waiting for us. Yes, thank you for waiting for us. Let's, thank you. We'll take that advice. Anyway, let's get back to the broadcast. And, we are back to the broadcast. Sorry, but believe it or not, had to visit the home library here, otherwise known as the bathroom, for just a few moments. But we're back. Okay, let's go to another edition of As the WNBA Turns. This may not be good for Angel Reese, but DeWanna Bonner is signing with the Atlanta Dream for the remainder or for what's left of the 2026 season and the playoffs, per multiple reports. The 17-year veteran is chasing a title in what could be her final year in the WNBA. Bonner started the season with the Phoenix Mercury, the team she has spent most of her career with. However, the Mercury were officially eliminated from the playoffs on August 22nd after a 99-89 loss to the Dream, and 2 days later, the six-time All-Star agreed to a buyout with the Mercury. General Manager Nick Guerin said that because of her relationship with the franchise, they wanted to give her the opportunity to end her career on a high note, even if it meant letting her go somewhere else. Bonner became a free agent after clearing waivers on Wednesday evening per ESPN. The Dream, 25-13 overall, are currently fourth in the league standings and have already clinched a playoff berth with clinching a playoff berth. Atlanta has reached the finals 3 times in franchise history, 2010, 2011, and 2013. But the Dream are still chasing their first title, which you could say the Dream are chasing a dream. Bonner, a 2-time WNBA champion, brings veteran experience that will be particularly valuable during the postseason. She has only missed the playoffs once in her storied career. The 6'4" wing can contribute on both sides of the court, and despite being close to the end of her career, she is still adding to the stat sheet with 10.6 points and a 6.1 rebound contest. The addition of Bonner also adds much-needed depth to the roster. Atlanta subs are averaging 17.2 points per game, which is the second fewest bench points per game in the league this season. They are particularly thin without 4-time All-Star Brianna Jones, who hasn't played since exiting a game against the Connecticut, soon-to-be Houston, team on August 13th with a left leg injury. Jones has only played 5 games for the Dream in 26. She missed the first months of the season after off-season surgery again on her right meniscus, and her status for the rest of the season is definitely unclear. Notably, Bonner has done well off the bench throughout her career, winning 6 Woman of the Year 3 consecutive times in 2009, 10, and 11. Bonner ranks 3rd in league history in career points and 5th in career rebounds. She is also 2nd all-time in WNBA regular season games played, just 8 short of tying Hall of Fame Sue Bird. The Dream have 6 regular season games remaining, so Bonner would not break that record this season. However, she already holds a record for most playoff games by a WNBA player at 98 and counting. ESPN reports that Bonner's salary is expected to be a prorated max contract worth about $116,000. The Dream's next game is set for Friday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern in Atlanta against the Portland Fire. Bonner will have extra time to get comfortable with Atlanta's system because the WNBA will break for the FIBA Women's World Cup August 31st to September 16th. Not bad when you think about it. Speaking of thinking about it, if we can, let's give you some scores from the WNBA. Okay, we only got one game that is right now still going on as we speak, but let's take you to the finals, or the final, one game that's the final. Golden State beat Connecticut 89-64. And right now, with 3:16 left to play in the first period, first quarter, Seattle and Toronto are tied at 16. Okay, let's just do the rest of the scores. We only got one, and that is, of course, Major League Baseball. And let's give you the baseball scores. Then we'll do more news, and then we'll get the rest of the scoreboard. Well, unless a miracle happens, we got one game that could possibly go to extra innings. In the ninth inning, the Dodgers, about to be in the bottom of the ninth inning, the Dodgers and the Braves tied at 5. Bottom of the seventh inning, White Sox over Texas, 10-2. Bottom of the eighth, no, it's top of the seventh, Steve. Top of the seventh, White Sox over Texas, 10-4. Top of the eighth, Baltimore and St. Louis are tied at 7. Top of the sixth, Minnesota leads the Athletics by 1, 3-2. Final scores: Tampa Bay blanked Detroit 3-0. Arizona blanked the Cubs 2-0. Cincinnati beat San Francisco 10-9. Cleveland over the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim 4-3. Philadelphia over Seattle 6-0. San Diego over Pittsburgh 3-0. Miami over Boston 4-1. Colorado over Washington 13-1. Yankees over the Astros 9-3. And Toronto over Kansas City 3-0. And Milwaukee over New York Mets 8-1. And that's a part of this lovely thing we call the scoreboard. Let's get back to more sports action and entertainment news, the likes of which we've never seen before. Okay, let's go back to more NFL. And the NFL introduced new suspension rules for 2026. 3 violations of these 5 penalties will result in a ban. Ooh, I wonder what they are, don't you? Okay, here we go. The NFL has put an extra emphasis on player safety in recent years, introducing new penalties and instituting fines and suspensions to punish repeat offenders. This upcoming season is no different. The league and the NFL Players Association have voted to place a greater emphasis on 5 penalties with a new fine and suspension structure. The 5 penalties to watch this season are hip drop tackle, horse collar tackle, launching, hit on a defenseless player, and the blindside block. Any player who commits 3 offenses in any one of those categories during the season will be suspended for 1 game. But if a player commits just one of these violations, they will receive 50% of their fine back at the end of the year. However, violations in any of these 5 categories will carry forward to subsequent seasons. The NFL says all players are beginning 2026 with a clean slate and will have clearer and faster paths to reducing the impact of prior offenses than under the previous system. The league is also eyeing what it describes as shared accountability. Not only are teams with excessive health and safety rule violations subject to increased financial penalties, but coaches of players approaching the new suspension threshold are now required to join their players in meetings with the National Football League. The league still has its former player panel that hears appeals from the current players, but this year a coach has been added. That is Ron Rivera, who played 9 seasons with the Chicago Bears from 84 to 92 and spent 13 years as the head coach of the Carolina Panthers and Washington. While the hip drop penalty is officially a penalty, it is rarely enforced in the moment, according to NFLpenalties.com. Just 3 hip drop penalties have been called in the 2 years since the rule was implemented. Those who commit hip drop tackles are usually fined after the fact. A total of 28 illegal blindside blocks were flagged in 2025, along with 4 horse collar tackles. Now, the league said in a statement this, quote, "The goal is simple. Make the game safer by focusing discipline on the techniques most likely to result in player injury, rather than players who make isolated mistakes during competition," the league said in its statement. It's beginning to look a lot like a business and not the game. In college football, oh boy. If you think it's patently absurd that a football player can sign an NFL contract or even participate in a legitimate preseason game and then come back to college, take heart in the fact that at least you're not alone. In a world where you can constantly have to check whether things that were once obvious still hold up, more or less, nobody in college football actually likes that this is happening. Oregon coach Dan Lanning came out strong on the issue. He's far from the only coach to do so, but his sentiment pretty much encapsulates where the vast majority of people arrive on the issue. Lanning told reporters, quote, "You're a professional now once you declare for the draft, so let any other of these players come back, fair or unfair to them. It's unfair to the sport, and I think it's unfair to the players that are on current teams for those guys who will be coming back." Even Lance Kiffin went on the Pat McAfee show on ESPN and SiriusXM satellite and said, quote, "I don't think professionals should come back to college sports and college football," end quote. But then he kept talking, and his elaboration is the heart of this issue. Kiffin continued, quote, "But in this instance, there are not players who have gone on to play seasons professionally or randomly filed an injunction. This is excuse me. This isn't that player." Kiffin continued, "This is part of a specific class that was ruled wrong by the NC2A that was supposed to be 5 for 5, end quote. In fact, CBS Sports reported Kiffin and the Tigers were actively encouraging players to sue the NCAA. Kiffin, like lawyers whose talking point he shares, is pointing to the 5 for 5 rule, a recent NC2A rule that says a player has 5 years to play 5 seasons. Players in the high school class of 2022 were essentially caught between two eligibility situations. They weren't covered by a COVID-19 season extra year of eligibility and weren't grandfathered into the NCAA's current rules change. There's a school of thought right there. That happened intentionally, but more on that later. Now, regarding Kiffin's latest profile of courage, it features him attempting to take tight and Dale. Excuse me. Regarding Kiffin's latest profile of courage, it features him attempting to take tight end Daquan Wright after the Eagles released him, as well as New Orleans Saints defensive tackle Zacavian Harris and Manmos. That would be very nice. That would be nice little cream, but I already had ice cream before I ate. Anyway, Now, regarding Kiffin's latest profile in courage, it features himself attempting to take tight end Daquan Wright after the Eagles released him, as well as New Orleans Saints defensive tackle Sagavian Harris and Arizona Cardinal safety Wadette Williams. Kiffin was not alone in his pursuit of the players who were initially granted a court order to return to college football. They were among the group that sued for eligibility because, well, it's an unsafe world. Anyway, Kiffin was not alone in his pursuit of the players who were initially granted a court order to return to college football. They were among the groups that sued for eligibility. Excuse me, folks. They were among the group that sued for eligibility because they weren't grandfathered into the NC2A's 5-for-5 rule. Kiffin is arguing that it's a one-time deal, but all of these are popping up as one-time deals over and over again. This is the cycle of college sports anarchy loophole. Attempted lawsuits follow coach. Anyway, let's see. Why literally now, on the eve of the summer? Well, the former NFL countdown savior oh boy. 10:35 and already I'm being okay, this is the cycle of college sports anarchy loophole. Attempted lawsuits follow. Coach defenses action. I've already said that. Now, it may seem far-fetched, but not really when you consider the college football world we all live in now. There's also a subplot regarding the message this sends to a locker room. You can't compete all fall or fall camp for playing time on the original ad. Anyway, the SEC currently tried to stand behind its rule barring interconference transfers, but it wasn't a good time. Okay, well, the SEC, as we said, certainly tried to stand behind its rule barring interconference transfers when it was a football-only issue. But then across campus in Baton Rouge, men's basketball coach Will Wade got some good news in the wake of a court allowing St. John's R.J. Luis an injunction to play for him this year. Los wages blew it. Okay. Oh, belly. I think we're going to go quickly to the other scoreboard so we can get through because I'm getting a little fuzzy here. Okay, we're just going to go with the scoreboard. So let's get going in the International League. The Rochester Red Wings beat the Buffalo Bison 6-3. Okay. And hey, Matt and Eddie, how you doing? Hello, Steve in the chat. There we go. Okay, Rochester beat Buffalo 6-3. I'm gonna get this where I can see it. Okay, thank you. Iowa over Omaha 7-3. Indianapolis over Columbus 4-3. Scranton Wilkes-Barre over Worcester 7-1. Memphis over Charlotte in 6 innings, 2-0. Gwinnett over Louisville 5-2. Norfolk lost to Durham. Norfolk won, beating the Durham Bulls 7-6. Syracuse beat Lehigh Valley by a point, 11-1. Actually, a whole lot of points, like 10. Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp defeated the Nashville Sounds 6-1. Mud Hens over St. Paul 4-2. The Pacific Coast League. Well, another fun little trip into the wilderness, as in game one of the 2-game double dip appeared on the screen. Okay, I think we are about to take the snooze dip. El Paso and Oklahoma had a doubleheader. They split it, with El Paso winning the first game 5-4, and Oklahoma City with the nightcap 6-0. Albuquerque over Round Rock 9-4, top of the ninth, bottom of the fourth. Sacramento over Reno 4-0. Aviators lead the Sugar Land Space Cowboys 2-0 in the bottom of the first. Salt Lake Bees over the Tacoma Rainiers 3-0. Eastern League games going on. Altoona Curve 6, Erie Sea Wolves 1. Hampshire Fisher Cats 5, Hartford lead Oregon Solar Days. Okay, let's just read these quickly. Altoona Curve beat Erie 6-1. New Hampshire over Hartford 5-4. Same score, different teams. Harrisburg beat Chesapeake 5-4. This is oh God, here we go. I don't know if I'm going to make it, but we're going to try. Altoona over Erie 6-1. New Hampshire over Hartford 5-4. Harrisburg over Chesapeake 5-4. Akron over Somerset 7-5. Reading over Singlehampton. Rumble People 6-2 for the Fighting Phils. And in the bottom of the 12th inning, Portland and Richmond are stuck at two runs. Southern League, top of the 8th inning, it's Montgomery over Pensacola by a score of Papa here. Okay, I'm going to try just to get to some smaller things here, because I'm really about to go to sleep. I don't want to do that here. So, top of the ninth, Tulsa leads Midland 8-4. Amarillo leads Corpus Christi 10-9. The top of the eighth, also in the top of the eighth, Springfield leads San Antonio 12-4. Arkansas over Wichita in the bottom of the ninth, 4-2. And Frisco Rough Riders took on the chin against the Northwest Arkansas Naturals 8-0 in the bottom of the seventh. Now we continue with our Midwest League scoreboard. Top of the seventh, South Bend 9, Wisconsin 4. Okay, here we go. I'm just going to read the Midwest League. Cedar Rapids over Lake County. Lake County over Cedar Rapids. 8-7. Dayton over Fort Wayne 2-1. Peoria over West Michigan 5-4. Great Lakes Loons over the Lansing Roughnecks 2-0. Beloit State should Sky Carp, but yeah, Sky Carp. Oh, excuse me. Beloit over actually they're tied with Quad City 7-7, bottom of the ninth inning. This one could go extras. South Bend over Wisconsin, top of the seventh, 9-4. Okay, folks, I'm sorry I'm going to have to do this because I'm getting a little sleepy. When I get a little sleepy, I tend to just sleep. And once I fall asleep, I don't usually wake up for a little while. And I've been on and off and on for a while. So I'm going to bow out, and we will have a new edition. I'll save the headlines from tonight. We'll do them tomorrow, and I will surely do my commentary as well. So thank you all for watching. Yep, I'm using Streamyards features as well, including a little ticker. So thanks everybody for watching. We will be back on tomorrow at this same lovely time. Until then, please have a good night. And I'm sorry to cut this short, but when I start dipping my head downwards, it's time to go to bed. So thank you everybody for watching. We'll try this again tomorrow. Good night.